Hello everyone, Link the Duelist here, back with another video on a deck profile of the Ursarctic. The Mecha Bears, Space Bears. Don't worry about the mixed matched sleeves, those are just from another deck that I'm using for the profile. But this is definitely, I'd say, probably my first full synchro deck, even though it's not completely full synchro because I do run its fusion monster. I've considered taking it out, but don't really have any reason to just yet. I've still been in the process of testing out the deck. It does perform pretty well, but I do feel like it could be better. It's a 46 card deck right now, but later on I most likely will do another video when I get more for it and find some better plays. But aside of that, I'm gonna go ahead and get right into the deck profile. First up, and the big bears are mainly entirely of preference. Most of them have hand trap like effects, so depending on what you're going against, you might want to varyize which ones. Like for me, I prefer Megatanus as to be the 3 of, but mainly you do 3 and the other 2 be like 2, or maybe 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. I wouldn't recommend that last one though. But Ursarctic Megatanus. During the main phase, quick effect, you contribute one other level 7 or higher monster from your hand. Spell summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot spell summon for the rest of this turn except monsters with a level. Basically cutting you out of XYZs, and this effect is basically pretty universal for the archetype. Just about all of them have that effect. I think the only one that doesn't is probably the one that's also a Drytron. I forget its name. But back onto the card. If this card is special summon while you control another Ursarctic monster, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face-down defense position. Basically meaning this is like your Book of Moon. And I like that because they aren't the strongest bunch. So slapping a card face down whenever that's on the field. And the big ones are like hand traps, like I said. They can be played on your opponent's turn. They can be special summon on your opponent's turn because they're a quick effect. Up next, we have Megapolar. Let's see. If this card is special summon, while you control another Ursarctic monster, you can target one spell your opponent controls, destroy it. This is like your MST. Then the last of the big bears, we have 2 of the Megabilis. And his effect is, if this card is spell summoned while you control another Ursarctic monster, you can target one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. So it's good removal. If they have a deck that revolves around bringing out a certain monster from the graveyard, that'll make it work. I don't fight a lot of those. I do own a lot of graveyard effect decks, but I do not actually fight a lot of graveyard decks, so I only have that at 2. But it is good to have a decent amount of your big bears. Up next, we have the one I was talking about earlier, Alternate Bright Knight Ursarctron Alpha. This card is treated as an Ursarctic and a Drytron. Cannot be normal summoned set. Must be spell summoned by card effect. If you control an Ursarctic or Drytron monsters except this card, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can add one Ursarctic or Drytron spell from your deck to your hand. So he's your search. You need 3 of them. He's an easy out. He's one of your level 7s. These guys are level 8s. These are level 7s. And cool thing about this deck is it is home to 2 of, and the only 2, level 1 synchros, because they have what I like to call negative synchros. Negative synchro summons. Which is kind of like in the anime where they had the dark synchro fusion, dark synchro summons in 5Ds. Yeah, 5Ds. Then we're on to the mix of the smaller bears. We got 3 of McPuller. What's his effect? You can add 1. If this card's supposed to summon, you can add 1 Ursarctic monster from your deck to your hand. He's your other searcher, but he says spells and traps. He searches out monsters. It's good to get another Ursarctic in your hand because you want Ursarctics in your hand so you can resolve. Not a single one of these is enable normal summon. Unless, of course, you run a... I'm trying to think of their name. Kashtira engine. I don't care for Kashtira. I think they're pretty cheap for what they can do. It's fought against them. They abused me on Master Duel. I don't really care for them. But one of their spell cards does allow you to normal summon level 7s. And that can help you normal summon these guys. But you'd lose their effect if you did that. Though it would open up more opportunities to synchro summon. Up next, we have 1 Ursarctic Mectanus. See, you can target 1 Ursarctic monster in your graveyard, except Ursarctic Mectanus, add to your hand. And then you got the other one here. McBillis, and what he does is if a special summon, you can spell summon 1 Ursarctic monster from your hand. So basically, he synergizes with Mectanus really well. I use that combo quite a lot. Sleeves are a little dirty. Up next, we have some generic support, I guess you could call them. We have Eldritch the Golden Lord. The Ursarctic spell, Radiation, is an extremely important spell because it lets you draw 7. The only downside is you really can't remove it off the field. Its effect is continuous. It doesn't go off the field after that effect goes through. After that effect's finished. So you gotta have some way to remove it. And he's a good way to remove it. Because you can send this card and 1 spell and trap from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 card in the field, send it to the graveyard. Which is another great thing because certain Ursarctic spells and traps, or spells I only want to run the one trap. Have graveyard effects. This card is in your graveyard. You can send one spell or trap card you control to the graveyard. Add this card to your hand. He is a level 7 or higher, meaning you can use him to pitch off to these guys. So pitch him, get him out of the graveyard with getting rid of your radiation. And then you can set on the radiation. Then you go in for a few more plays. Then we got Crystal Girl. If this card is normal or spell summoned, you can activate this effect during the end phase of this turn. Add one level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to your hand. If you control level 5 or higher water monster and this card is in your graveyard, you can spell summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. It's a level 1, and it gets you out your Ursarctics. And, well, you just kind of want to have certain level 1s in your deck. Speaking of level 1s, we run 3. Yeah, no, mixed rarities. Oh, well. Righty Driver. Mainly, we use this guy for normal summoning. Yeah, normal summon him and then special summon Lefty Driver. Or her, sorry. Lefty Driver. And when she is a special summon, you can make this card become level 3 until the end of this turn. Don't have to use that effect, though, if you don't need it. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Add one Righty Driver from your deck to your hand. So they're recyclable. Also, using just those two, you can get out the main boss, or I wouldn't really call it a boss monster, but it is an extremely important card in the deck for the combo. But due to the fact the way they work, that card can be used to get them out. Then we play 3 Ash Blossoms, 2 Effect Veiler, and then 2 Nibs. For Nib is not only a good hand trap, it can be pitched off of the effects for the Ursarctics. An effect and Ash are a given. And that is it for the monsters. So let's go ahead and get into these spells. First up, we have the main spell itself, Ursarctic Radiation. You draw 7. Activate this card by placing 7 counters on it. Each time an Ursarctic monster is spell summoned from the hand or extra deck, you can remove 1 counter from this card. Draw 1 card. Once per turn, during the end phase, you can target 1 Ursarctic card in your graveyard, except Ursarctic Radiation, shuffle it into the deck. So, not only is it a draw 7, it can be used to recycle some of your monsters. Or most of your monsters, considering it's mostly Ursarctics. Up next, we have 3 Ursarctic Departure. You can discard 1 card, add 2 Ursarctic monsters from your deck to your hand. If you would tribute a monster to activate an Ursarctic monster's effect, except during this Except during the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. This was the graveyard effect one I was talking about. Then we have 2 Big Dipper. It's your field spell. Pretty important. Once per turn, if your Ursarctic monster would tribute a monster to activate its effect, you can banish 1 level 7 or higher Ursarctic monster from your graveyard instead. Each time a monster is special summoned, place 1 counter on this card. Once per turn, if a monster is special summoned and an Ursarctic Synchro monster is on the field, except during the damage step, you can remove all counters from this card, minimum 7, then target 1 monster your opponent controls and take control of it. There's a good portion of people that only run 1, but I am running the fusion card in here, so I feel 2 is necessary right now. Up next, we have 1 Ursarctic Slider. Target 1 of your Ursarctic monsters that is banished during your graveyard and special summon it, but it cannot attack. Also destroy it during the end phase. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon except monsters with a level. Another card that locks you in out of XYZs, so just don't run XYZs in this deck. Not necessary at all. Then we run Ursarctic Drytron. This lets you special summon the fusion monster and Drytron Fenrir, which is a card you need to actually do that. You need a Big Dipper, and you need Fafnir. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I said Fenrir, it's Fafnir. But, this card to pitch that, and you can get your fusion monster. I don't know if I will continue to run that from here on out, but for right now I am running it. I will probably be cutting it to minimize the amount of cards in the deck. Then we have 1 Galaxy Cyclone, in case we, not only does it help you pop your opponent's cards, you can also use it on your cards too. So, getting a used up radiation off the field, always a good idea. Then we have 1 Monster Reborn and 1 Called by the Grave. And that is it for the spells. Now onto the traps. This is where some of my personal texts come in, because I like generic traps. But first up we have the Ursarctic Quint Charge. Once per turn you can pay 700 life points and activate one of the following effects. Add 1 Ursarctic monster from your graveyard to your hand. And then this one, tribute 2 Ursarctic monsters, even if face down. And if you do, special summon from your extra deck 1 Ursarctic monster with a level equal to the difference in its level of those monsters, ignoring its summoning conditions. When your Ursarctic Synchro monster is destroyed by an opponent's attack, you can activate this effect. Your opponent must shuffle cards into the deck equal to the total number of cards in their hand, in their field, hand, and graveyard. Okay. I didn't know that last effect. I haven't actually used this card yet. But a good way to bring out some of your boss monsters on your opponent's turn. Then we have 1 Wall of Disruption, because again, this deck, especially if you're more focused in the Ursarctic package and the other things. The Ursarctics don't exactly have a lot of attack, and they can be punched over pretty easily, especially with all these beatdown decks going around. So Wall Disruption for me came in clutch in many different decks, and I use it in several different decks, and it will probably stay that way. Then we have one Lost Wind for Interruption. I don't know if you guys know what this is, but one of my boys actually showed me this. He used it on me. It's kind of aggravating card to deal with, but target one face-up special summon monster on the field. It has effects negated. Also, its original attack is halved. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's extra deck while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can set this card or banish it when it leaves the field. That is it for the traps. On to the extra deck. First up, we have the first level 1 Synchro. One of the two in the entire game. But this card is not Synchro Summon the usual way. Cannot be Synchro Summoned. Sorry. Must be special summoned from your extra deck by sending 2 monsters you control with a different level of 1 from the graveyard. 1 to the graveyard, 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner. If this card is a special summon, you can activate 1 Ursarctic Dipper directly from the deck. So it is not searching, so they cannot ash that. Activate directly from the deck. You contribute 1 level 7 or higher monster to your hand, or special summon 1 Ursarctic monster from your graveyard. Then we play, I guess you'd call this like the upgraded version of him. He's got all the armor on him now, but still the same bear. This guy comes in clutch. As usual, the same summon effect, but you contribute 1 level 8 Ursarctic monster from your hand or field in this card. Special summon 1 level 7 Ursarctic Synchro monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. And if you do, it gains this effect. Your opponent cannot activate effects of monsters with a level that were special summoned from the extra deck. So if they rely heavily on their extra deck and their monster has a level, their effects are negated. And what's really cool to actually pair that with is use that card to actually summon out. It's not this one. It's Grand Chariot, but let's do this one first. Septentrion. I probably butchered that. But this is one of the 2 mech-like level 7 Ursarctic monsters. You got these level 1s and you got the other 2 level 7s. Must be special summoned from your extra deck by sending 2 cards you control with a difference of level of 7 to the graveyard. 1 level 8 or higher and 1 non-tuner Synchro monster. Negate the effects of face-up monsters without a level that were special summoned from the extra deck. Oh, sorry, it was this card, not the other one. If your opponent spells summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can add one Ursarctic card from your deck to your hand. Great card. Up next, we have Ursarctic Grand Chariot. I'm only running one. I would say you can switch this one and this one around between 1 and 2, depending on what you're fighting. Because if you're going up against... I'd say if you're going up against a deck, like probably XYZ's, you might want to use Septarion. And if you're not, you probably go into 2 of these. Again, the level difference. If this card is special summoned, you can target up to 2 other cards on the field, destroy them once per turn. When a card or effect is activated that targets an Ursarctic card you control, a quick effect, you contribute 1 monster from your hand or field and negate the activation. So it's a good pop, and it negates your opponent's activated card effects. It's a good negate. Up next, we have one Samsara Sarcat. It's a level 3 tuner, so you can bring it out with a level 1 tuner, or level 1 and then a level 2 monster. For example, your lefty and righty drivers. But once per chain, during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using this card you control. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 other synchro monster in your graveyard, return it to the extra deck, and if you do special summon this card, banish it when it leaves the field. So not only does it recycle, you can synchro summon on your opponent's turn, which is great. Up next, we have a 2 for here. We have Trishula Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier and Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier. When this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards from your opponent. 3 cards your opponent controls. If this synchro summon card and its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier, right here, from the extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3,300. Then half the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. Also negate their effects. Amazing card. I don't get it out much though, but if you do get that out, it's probably a game ender. And when this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to 1 card from each of your opponent's hand and field and graveyard. This card, the card in the hand is chosen at random. Then we have Psychic End Punisher, which we are actually getting a rarity bump of this guy in the new pack, so that's cool. When your life points are less than or equal to your opponent's, this synchro summon card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, then target 1 monster your opponent controls, and 1 card you control and 1 card your opponent controls, banish them. At the start of the battle phase, you can make this card gain attack equal to the difference in your life points and your opponent's. Then we have Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign. He's good. He banishes. This deck does banish, and he gains bonuses and makes your opponent lose. Nerfs your opponent based on how many things are banished. Good card overall. I don't think I need to go too in depth with him. But up next we have White Aura Whale, which beautiful card. When this card is synchro summoned, you can destroy all of your opponent's attack position monsters. This card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. This card attacks a defense position monster, inflict battle damage. If this card is in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you can banish 1 other water monster from your graveyard and special summon this card's tuner. Basically, destroys a good pop of all your opponent's attack position monsters. Not only that, it can attack 2 times, and it does piercing damage. And not only that, it can bring itself back. Great card. I've actually won a few games with it. Up next, we have a Martial Metal Marcher. If this card is synchro summoned, you can target 1 tuner in your graveyard, special summon in defense position, but negate its effects. You can only use this effect this card once per turn. A synchro monster that is use this card as material is treated as a tuner while face up on the field. Then lastly, we have Ultimate Flagship Ursarctic. This card is always treated as an Ursarctic and Drytron card, and it must be special summoned with Ursarctic Drytron once per turn. If the damage step, if another effect monster is special summoned to the field, except during the damage step, you can add 1 Ursarctic or Drytron monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can target 1 of your banished Ursarctics or Drytron monsters and add them to your hand. I kind of like the card. I like the art. I run them in the deck. It's not a necessity. You can always put in maybe like a Navy Dragon or a Mech Navy Dragon or something like that, and take out the engine you need to summon them. He is kind of a hassle to bring out. I will probably take him out in the future profiles. But other than that, that is it for the deck profile. I have probably 2 more decks right now that I could do profiles on until after a trip. I am taking a vacation around June. So once I come back, just expect me to have a few decks extra, because I do plan on ordering a few extra decks when I come back. But I do hope you guys liked the video and the profile. And do please like and subscribe. And Link the Duelist out.